Now, I'm going to come back to deconstructionism, but I want to talk more about homosexuality. This is a big, big issue in the academy. This is the social issue. Homosexual advocates are making this into a civil rights issue. Now, as believers, when we engage, as believers, we should engage in dialectic. Because we should know that if we appeal to the Quran, it is then a logical fallacy. Someone who doesn't believe in the Quran is asking you, why don't you accept homosexuality as a lifestyle? And if you say, well, it's in the Quran, that's called an argument from unqualified authority, because they don't believe in that authority. You have to give secular arguments. You have to use dialectic. Okay? There's this conservative YouTuber. I don't agree with everything he says, obviously, but he has this interesting thing where he goes around interviewing people on the street. Usually they're millennials or in that age range. I hate to pick on them, but it's okay. My kids are almost at that age. They're not all the same, right? Okay. So he goes up to someone and he says, how do you feel about a man marrying another man? How do you feel about a man marrying another man? And this person says, yeah, why not? Two consenting adults. What's wrong with that? To each his own. Whatever floats your boat. Right? He says, okay, two consenting adults. That's right, of course. Okay, how do you feel about a man marrying his daughter that are both consenting adults? And they say, no, I don't agree. And then he says, what? Are you an incest phobe? That's all you have to do. Throw out the ad hominem. Are you an incest phobe? Oh, no? Oh, I guess it's, as long as they don't have kids. What? Are you denying my right to have children? No. And you can see them one by one. Okay, nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong. As long as it's not hurting anyone. Right? The CDC. What is CDC?
Center of Disease.
Center of Disease Control. According to them, homosexuals are 2% of the population, homosexual men, yet account for 78% of HIV cases. 2% account for 78% of HIV cases. 83% of syphilis. There's a group, Americans for Truth About Homosexuality, AFTA, that you can do some research on. More than 1 out of 10 homosexual men is incontinent. If you don't know what that means, look it up. I've read from 12% to 25% of homosexual men are incontinent. The Kinsey Institute published a study by Bell and Weinberg from 1978, finding that promiscuity among homosexual men is through the roof. Check this out. 28% of homosexual men have had sexual encounters with 1,000 or more partners. Multiple studies have shown that casual sex causes depression, anxiety, and mental illness. Now, 79% of that 28% said that more than half of their partners were complete strangers. So if you go gay bars, gay movie theaters, gay dance clubs, they have these back rooms that actually cater to this type of thing. This is clearly a mental illness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intimates that homosexual promiscuity is a mental illness in the Quran. La amruka. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says directly to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is the only time which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes an oath by the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is a big oath. La amruka innahum lafi sakratihim ya'mahun. By your life, they are indeed in their wild intoxication, wandering blindly. Homosexuality is transforming the very fabric of society. It is destroying the traditional nuclear family. It spreads disease and a culture of irresponsibility. Several studies have shown that same-sex relationships do not last nearly as long as heterosexual relationships. So children end up suffering due to these highly dysfunctional relationships. Use the argument from nature, from natural selection. Put 1 million homosexual men on an island, give them the best technology, cutting-edge health care, in 100 years, everyone is dead. Nature selects. Now, a common argument, and this is coming from Muslim homosexual apologists, is that why would Allah create them like that? Right? Now, first of all, there's no scientific evidence whatsoever of a gay gene. So this whole idea of born this way, right, the Lady Gaga anthem, is a lie. One can certainly make the argument that homosexuality is the result of trauma suffered during the development of one's brain in early childhood. So something like divorce, rejection by a father or a mother, sexual molestation, being physically abused. Dr. Omar Johnson, who counsels African American youth, he says, and he's a clinical psychologist for something like 20 years, to 95% of the black youth that come to him that identify as homosexual are victims of trauma in childhood. The other thing is, how would a gay gene even survive natural selection? Wouldn't nature weed it out eventually? It doesn't seem to be happening. It seems to be growing. Evolutionary biologist and anti-theist polemicist Richard Dawkins over at Oxford University, evolutionary biologist, he really doesn't have an answer. He doesn't know. He has some theories that I won't go into, but one of them, he says, is, well, maybe it's because maybe babies that feed from a bottle turn gay, and those who breastfeed are straight. This is according to Richard Dawkins. This is their main man. Interesting. Well, going back to this question, why would Allah create them like that? Let's just entertain the premise for now. Okay, that's how they were created. This is similar to the transgender thing. What about a child born in the Congo into abject poverty, to a single mother who is HIV positive because of a vaccine that she took, yet that child never complains? Welcome to the dunya. Life is hard. We are in no position to judge Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are children born blind with major mental and physical disabilities. This is qadar. There are men who are born with proclivities towards children. Do we ask, why did Allah create them like that? No, we expect them not to act out on their perversion.